Hi, everybody. Thank you again for joining us on the Naked Wealth podcast. I have Valentina with me today, and I have no doubt we're going to have an extremely dynamic conversation. I've been so excited to have her on. So the day is finally here. Valentina is from Rhode Island. I think you're my first Rhode Island guest. Right. She's a dynamic DJ hailing originally from a West African village. She brings a blend of culture and beats to her work as a DJ, but I can personally attest to the fact that she brings that also to her other business, which is she is the owner of Babes in Business Boston. And I had the opportunity to attend the first Babes in Business Boston event, which was absolutely phenomenal. There was no detail that was not looked into and taken care of. I mean, right down to glitter on cotton candy. So it was fantastic. So thank you for joining us, Valentina. So tell us a little bit about, how long have you been in the U.S.? When did you come here? Tell us a little more about the roots before we get a little further.
Thank you for having me. I came to the U.S. in 1990. And came to Rhode Island. That was where most of my family members were. My mother just kind of followed suit with everyone being here already.
I know you're also a busy mom. So what kind of got you interested in the music business and becoming a DJ? I mean, you kind of hear of oh, I'm an accountant and then on Friday nights I'm a DJ. You don't really lead.
Yeah, I mean, certainly I wasn't a DJ. Yeah. I didn't start DJ when I had children. When I started out in the industry, I started without children. So thankfully it happened when I had enough freedom to be able to pursue my dream career. But I started with an entertainment company. And from there, I just kind of fell into it, just being surrounded by DJs, being in the event industry. From there, it just kind of one thing led to another. Before you know it, I'm a DJ and loving it.
So what types of events do you do?
I mean, it varies. I feel like anything that involves music, and I feel as though any event without music is not really an event. Music plays such a powerful role that when it's lacking, you really feel it. You feel it in the air. You feel it in people's body language. But I do anything from corporate to weddings to retreats. So, I mean, the sky's the limit, but I kind of like to limit because I do have a family and that's quite important.
Was music a big part of your upbringing?
Music was my escape. I came from West Africa, so I grew up in a small village and, we don't really have much going on in a village where it's just like mountains and you're surrounded by water and really there's really not much else going on. So music was a big part of growing up, loved listening to it, loved the escape. And once I came here and discovered just the different types of music and the different emotions that came out with different genres and different artists, I understood from an early age that was definitely for me.
And how did you go from there into launching Babes of Business in Boston?
Yeah, so that's been a journey. Empowering women has always been innate. It's something that has been in me from a very young age. I've always stood up for women just because of where I come from, seeing that women really didn't have much power, didn't have a voice for themselves. I've always felt like I did have a voice, and I always gave a voice to those who didn't have one. And so growing up, I always felt like when I'm old enough, I want to be able to empower women and inspire them and sort of open their eyes to the possibilities of what there is and the things that they're capable of. So, again, it's a journey and it takes years in the making, but eventually when you follow the necessary steps, you get to the point where things just start falling into place. And that's when Babes in Business sort of fell on my lap.
So you had the first event.
Yeah, it was February 8th.
Mm-hmm. How long did it take you to put it together? I mean, it was, we have to go on her Instagram and everyone else who's tagged Babes in Business Boston and just look at this detail.
So I can't come from an event planning background. So it took no time at all because I understand the event world so well. And I mean, really, that's what I do. It goes way beyond being a DJ, but I actually was an event planner for years before even, considering being full-time DJ. And so 2 months is really all it took to put it together. But it's not just me. I understand the vision that I have, and I understand the team that it takes to put this together. And so I just, bring everyone together and we create magic. But 2 months was really all I needed.
Gee, is that something where you're naturally inclined to just really be able to turn it on and up in that sort of an environment? Or is it something that you've had to hone and develop?
Yeah, it's definitely an on and off thing, because like I just came from hiking, and a friend of mine and I were talking, and she was mentioning, people think that you're this extroverted person and they always come up to you, always thinking that you're on, but the reality of it is they really don't know who you are truly. And I'm both. The truth of the matter is I'm both those things. I'm an extrovert and I'm an introvert, but it is an on and off, because I definitely need my time where I'm off and I can just be, and I can connect with myself and connect with God. So that's kind of like where it gets tricky, because I have to definitely turn myself on in order to play this role that I'm playing, which is, again, it's a part of me, but I definitely have to turn on that button.
So we talk a lot about that on this podcast, more in terms of, everyone's different. I mean, I work with people all day long. So when I have my downtime, I've had to craft my day and be very intentional. Like if I know my husband wants to go to dinner, for example, he likes to sit at the bar because he likes to talk to all the people, where I just want to sit at a table and be with him. And so I'll have to be very specific. I'm happy to go out to dinner tonight, but tonight I have to sit at a table, How have you, worked out your day, whether through scheduling or time blocking, or to make sure you get what you need to make sure your battery's full?
Yeah, I mean, I think that what you just said is such an important topic to be covered, and a conversation that needs to be had, not only with your partner. I think even with your partner, it's important to actually let it come out and let it be known, express it. So you're each understanding of how the other person is wired. I definitely just retreat because of what I do. I'm always in the limelight. I'm always speaking to people. I'm fully present. I'm fully on. I'm fully there. But the moment I leave there, I need to come home to peace, quiet, tranquility. And it's just like having, you can't get away from your children, of course, that's a given. But it's just like having anyone else around kind of messes with that flow. And it kind of makes me a little bit irritable, because I'm totally having to retreat. And I really, really, really need that alone time to just kind of like look at the sky, or just be away from everything. So for me, I intentionally take the time to not speak with anyone. I really need that. I don't socialize and go out with friends too much during the week, because that's my recharge. Otherwise, I won't have what I need and what is necessary for me to be on the weekend.
Yeah, same. I think sometimes that's a very big misconception. A lot of the comments I receive are, I don't know how you do it all. I don't know how to do it all. But they don't realize the intense level of doing nothing and shut down that is required in organization, and very intentionality among that to make it all happen. But
yeah, 100%. And again, like, these are topics that are not really talked about for people to understand. And I think it kind of normalizes what we do and who we are and how we take approach to things, because I think a lot of people do have that misconception of like, I'm on all the time. Oh, like, she's a party animal and she's this and she's that. And she's like such a personality. And like, yeah, I am. But I also really, really in order to be that, I need my time alone. And there's like a very, very small number of people that I can actually be around and be okay, because there are people who are able to recharge you without you having to give too much. It's just like you're near each other. There's that understanding, the conversation flows, and it works, and you to recharge that way. But not everyone can do that. So you kind of have to just shun everyone away.
It's like the same thing with social media, that presence that everyone sees you in that limelight.
Yeah.
It's similar to what social media is only one dimension of a person. And I think we can be very much trick our brains into thinking that someone else's life is somehow glossier than our own, when really maybe they're just more consistent with posting and really have good photos or whatever the case may be. But in reality, like your life is still your life, and you still have hard days and you have great days, and you have those, especially with parenting, right? You've got all those moments when you're like, this moment needs to go. And then as soon as it's gone, you're like, oh my gosh, I need that moment back. Because there's this one speck of gold that was in there that I'm holding on to, even though the rest of surrounding was very, very hard.
Exactly. And again, like, it's just that understanding of like, just don't take anything you see on social media as life, as this is what it is, because it's not. I mean, I don't care who you are and how much you put on social media, how great your life looks. This is the human experience, and no one is exempt from it. We have the ups and we have the downs.
How do you set your boundaries for social media? Because I think that's, again, something not really discussed. People are like, well, I need to put it all out there to be very relatable. But at the same time, not putting your family at risk and also protecting your privacy. Like, is there anything that you've done or told, conversations you've had with yourself or other people who are also trying to promote businesses in order to be relatable and real, yet also protect your privacy?
Social media is tricky because it takes a lot of energy that goes into it. And for me, it's a little bit, I find it trickier because I have to both entice and attract new clients, but also I'm pretty deep and I like to make sure that whatever I'm putting out there for the most part is something that is relatable and, I'm contributing to humanity as opposed to just posting a selfie. But so it gets tricky and it gets really tiring because of the amount of energy that it takes to put things out on social media and to be intentional about it. I often take a lot of time off because it does get pretty draining. So I'm not very consistent at all. I'm terrible with it, actually, even though it seems like I am. But within the last couple of years, for sure, I have not been as active with my feed anyway. But when it comes to the stories, I mean, that's more like inspirational and, humor, that sort of thing. But it takes a lot of energy. So I'm not really on top of it.
I agree. It really does. It's something I to and fro with myself, and I'll think, okay, today's the day. I'm going to set up a camera and I'm going to do a video. I mean, up until I had someone teach me this year where to look into the iPhone, because I was like looking at myself the whole time, and they're like, you're not talking to me, you're looking at you. And I thought, oh, awful.
It's a lot, and like, I'm a creative. So like, that takes the creativity out of who I am and what I do. I'm about creativity and feeling. And when you have to be so methodical about it, it just like takes the excitement out of it for me, and it hurts.
What's been the most gratifying thing for you, or a win? You could say, oh, there was this one moment that stood out, but oftentimes it's not about one single moment. It's really about a bunch of collective small moments. So.
Yeah. And I think it is really just that. For me, it's more about combination of many small moments that have added up to where I am. I think the biggest thing for me is like finally coming to that understanding that like everything that I've gone through, whether good or bad, all of it, like I have this true understanding that it all happened the way that it was supposed to happen in order for me to be exactly where I am and exactly the person that I am and the woman I'm becoming. Obviously, so many things have happened over the course of how many years I've been in business, but I think just that really true understanding of, okay, I get it. I get all of these things that have come and gone, but it was all part of the process, and it's very, very clear to me. I feel as though that's the biggest win for me.
There's a great amount of peace that comes with that, of knowing you're exactly where you're supposed to be, and that even the missteps really, or what you viewed as missteps.
That's right.
Were not. And and everything is orchestrated as it should be.
That's right. And that's, that comes from a greater understanding, and it's all about perspective, right? How you look at life is how your life will take shape. Through life's experiences, your eyes widen and they open, and your mind open as well. And that's where the understanding comes from. And yes, there's a great sense of peace that comes with that knowledge or understanding.
What's on the other flip side? What's been a your biggest struggle as a woman in business? I mean, not necessarily personally, but, something like, oh, I didn't really expect this, or I didn't think about it. A lot of times this is where I do get financial responses, but like balancing it all.
Oh God, balance. I mean, I don't know. I have a hard time looking at things like challenging. I feel like I'm glass half full. So I always look at it like,
yeah,
I'll figure it out. That's just my way of
opportunity.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah.
But for sure, I can say that without thinking too much, the balance part is, I think, a lifelong journey. And it's something that I struggle with big time, because I am intentional about the life that I'm living. I am intentional about the things that I'm doing and how I am contributing to my children and their lives, and also other people who I'm around. But also, I told you earlier, I have an ADHD brain. And so oftentimes it's just like, it's so hard to focus and concentrate and balance. So that balance, I think, is really the kryptonite of many of us, but for sure mine.
Yes. Yeah. And I think sometimes things, where we're talking financial or priorities of just, what do I do first? Do I work in my business or on my business? Do I go promoting it, or do I get this event like nailed down in terms of everything, whatever you're working on? And, which one do you do first? And then an email comes through, and then a text comes through, and you're like doing 20 things at once. It can be challenging. As female business owners that I've spoken with really are challenged with balancing financially the personal priorities, the business priorities. Do I put my money to growing my business or hiring new staff, or do I pull some out of my business in order to take that vacation? Especially your solopreneurs and, it's very under 20, employees. It definitely is a challenge. So I think it's important to have a good team, and even just other business owners, like to talk to me, like, hey, how are you doing this? Because I think sometimes it's just like not feeling alone in the moment.
1,000%. I think for me, the biggest thing is my biggest reason for sharing, and by the way, like, I'm so honored, because I feel like just sharing your story and other people hearing it, understanding they're not alone, you've already made someone feel lighter, I feel, because I know what it feels like what it feels like to feel alone. But just sharing our stories makes us feel, again, not so alone in this world. So the fact that you are doing this podcast, and the fact that I'm sharing what I'm sharing, sometimes all it takes is to know that, you know what? I'm not alone. I have felt this way. I'm not the only one feeling this way. I think it's a big help for a lot of us.
Well, I appreciate you and your story, and the fact that you gave me that perfect segue to kind of close this out, because if you are a woman who's feels like you're on this island of running your business, especially if you're in the Boston area, but Babes in Business is also, it's not just a Boston area thing, it's a national organization, correct?
Yes, it is a national organization. I run the Boston chapter.
Right. So, if you're in the Boston, New Hampshire, New England area, for sure, like, check out Babes in Business. And if you're outside the Boston area, come visit or go to your local chapter. But I mean, what a great place to meet other people who are in the trenches. And I think that what you're doing for women and bringing women together and providing that camaraderie and support system is just huge. It's phenomenal. And I'm really honored to have met you and have you on today. And I'd love for you to just share, first of all, tell me about your favorite book. Do you have one?
How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. I feel really kind of did a lot for me when I was younger, growing up. And it's a book that you can always go back to. And it has, moral values. A lot of it stems from the Bible, which is my number one book, really, is the Bible. But, in plain English, plain language, How to Win Friends, Influence People is more, I think it's an easier book to digest.
It's a classic. I love that one too. So where can people find you, Valentina?
Instagram is my favorite platform. It's DJ_Valentina.
All right. Awesome. Thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing with us. I know sometimes I don't ask questions just about your business, but very personal things. And I do appreciate you taking that dive with us today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Securities and advisory services are offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor, member of FINRA, SIPC.